give me a grander view of what America's food scene looks like. That's just one of the reasons why I'm super excited to talk with my guest today. Another one is his name's Daniel.
Hey,
so
Dan.
Clearly he knows what he's talking about. He's a very smart individual. This is the GM of Koji, Daniel Bello. Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Restaurant Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and I love just talking about and thinking about Omaha's restaurant scene. I have great admiration for it, but I also admit I probably do it through rose-colored glasses. This is a place that I grew up. It's a place that I love, and I always enjoy the opportunity to talk with somebody who came from somewhere else or has experiences all over the country and can kind of give me a grander view of what America's food scene looks like. That's just one of the reasons why I'm super excited to talk with my guest today. Another one is his name's Daniel.
Hey,
so
Dan.
Clearly he knows what he's talking about. He's a very smart individual. This is the GM of Koji, Daniel Bello. Daniel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a ton of fun. It's great to meet you. I've seen you around a few times. I saw you at the library, saw you at Shredders, and it's great to sit down and talk to you and meet. Cool.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very fun conversation. I want to start, as always, at a high level, though, and I can't even imagine if someone is listening to or watching an Omaha food podcast that they don't know what Koji is or they haven't been in and experienced Koji. But just in case that small piece of the pie exists, how would you describe Koji to somebody visiting for the first time?
Koji is the second restaurant of David Utterback and Jay Hendrickson. It is, of the Yoshitomo family. But Koji in itself is, the neighborhood restaurant you want in your neighborhood. That's what we always kind of describe it as. It's an izakaya, which is kind of like a Japanese pub, and it very much is, minimal. We have, our yakitori, we have buns. We have main dishes that we have, larger plates that we have. We have maki rolls, which are just like really classic sushi rolls that are very, some of them are shared with the Yoshitomo restaurant. But yeah, it is that. It is a neighborhood restaurant. We serve the 5-block radius that we live in, across from Westside High. But it's just a really charming, minimal, Japanese restaurant. Yeah.
Oh, I know, obviously this isn't your entire role at Koji, but something that you're very passionate about is wine.
Yeah.
And wine pairings. Is that a lifelong passion you've always had, or is that something that you kind of developed along the way?
Well, where I grew up in California. I grew up in Yolo County outside of UC Davis, which is very much a farm town, very much a small farm town. And my wine education started when I was very young. My first job was at a winery called R.H. Phillips in Dunnigan Hills, which is an AVA in Yolo County. I had a friend. I was singing in a church choir, and they needed some help, moving chairs around. And they, got busy, and they threw me behind the bar very illegally. And I started pouring wine. I had a real knack for it. I just liked talking to people, and I liked being engaged and, finding the deeper meaning in the thing that we had. My first job was there. I worked there for, into my college years, and I worked there for about 3 years. And the first job that I had was very cool because it was like very poetic. I was working on this winery. It was 2,100 acres, 1,800 of which were planted. It was the largest estate winery in the country. And then it got bought by a company called Vincor, and then a company called Constellation. So my first job was this beautiful poetic thing that, had this massive hostile takeover of it. So they, it was a small mom and pop, a very large small mom and pop, but they eventually started selling their wines in like Costco. The Toasted Head brand with the bear. Have you seen that wine before? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that used to be this like really small winery. It was really poetic and very artisan. And it got bought and then sold on a mass market. So it was a very, very sharp introduction into the real world, I guess is what I would say.
We'll definitely get more into that, but I'm so curious about what took you with wine originally. You said that you enjoy talking to people, and obviously a huge part of the hospitality industry, being a general manager, being a sommelier, is talking to people and learning about their interests and then figuring out how to cater to them. But what was it about the wine itself that made you go, wow, like this might not just be a summer job or a college job or anything, but this might be something more for me?
Yeah, the cool people that were around that area, like it was, finding really intelligent people. If you're dumb, surround yourself with smart people, and if you're smart, surround yourself with smart people that can teach you something.
Why do you think you're at this table right now? That's my philosophy, exactly.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no, I had some really good mentors, like working in wine and pushing into restaurants pretty quick. So like if you have like a good wine background, if you have your like intro sommelier path, like you can get noticed at any restaurant job or really any hospitality job that you can get, or that you'd want to get rather. So like if you're working in wine, it segues pretty easily into restaurants. You have the hard part kind of figured out already. And then, so I started working in restaurants in Sacramento, and I had a really good mentor. His name was Dan. I swear his name was Dan.
Dans are going to run the world someday.
Just a bunch of Dans. But he worked in San Francisco. He worked at Restaurant Gary Danko. He's the general manager there. Gary Danko, if you don't know, is like Realist and Chateau. It's like the most hot. It was a restaurant that survived the .com boom in San Francisco, and then survived, whatever tech industry explosion was happening out there right now. But if you go in that place, it's like a museum of the like posh 90s. It's absolutely incredible. Like the music in the restroom is different than the music in the dining room. It's very, like, amongst other things, it is very, very, very cool. But Dan was, he's like, if you pass these tests, like you can go into the city and you can make a lot of money. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. That sounds great. So a core group of us at the restaurant that we were working at, and this kind of, is something that happens just in restaurants. You have a core group of people. For us, it was 8 of us that were really interested in wine. So we had a study group. And then we all signed up to take our intro in San Francisco, and we all went and passed, which was a ton of fun. And then 2008 happened, the financial crisis in 2008. So I kind of had to move to San Francisco pretty fast in order to, make money in the industry that I was working in. And so I went from Sacramento restaurants to San Francisco restaurants to, find a new, to immigrate to a new country to make money, essentially. Yeah.
And what's the difference in those two restaurant scenes, Sacramento to San Francisco? In my mind, it feels like there's a big step up, but I want to ask you and leave it open-ended.
Like kind of what I've found, just working in restaurants in general, is that there's kind of like a vibe that people have. They either speak the language or they don't. And that's one of hospitality. So if you're, it doesn't, there's, the best restaurant, might exist in a small place. It might exist in a large place. It might exist in, Sacramento or San Francisco or Omaha. They all speak the same language, kind of thing. And that's one of, knowledge and hospitality. So if you can find that, then you're in a good spot. And that doesn't really matter, geographically speaking. Like you can find that in Chicago, New York, or San Antonio, Sacramento, or Omaha. Like all of those places can show, can make an impact on someone. And if it's run right, you can make money there and live a life from that job.
What does a wine study group look like?
Beginning wine study groups are kind of funny because it's like you get this book and then you read through it and then you kind of quiz each other on stuff. The higher you get up in it, the different conversations kind of change. Like if you're in, let's say, a certified study group, like if you're, passing your, or if you're gunning for your like certified sommelier exam, there's a wine tasting part of it. There's a theory part of it, and there's a service part of it. So the service part of it, that's something you kind of do every day. How that looks is that there's a master somm sitting at a table, kind of like you're sitting at a table now, and they just ask you questions. They run you through service. You're at, a German restaurant in, New York City, and we want to drink Riesling. So what do you recommend? And then they just kind of quiz you on that, like kind of see how deep you can go into those specific categories. And then they, ask you food pairing questions, and it's just very much a normal service, but they put you into a scenario and you kind of have to like act and play in that scenario. They might ask you for like wine pairings or flights or, any kind of question. They could pretend to be drunk, which is always, I didn't get that, but like, it was very like something that happens. And then the theory questions of it too are just like a broad understanding of like wine laws and rules and regulations and AVAs and AOCs and all of these different, laws essentially that you have to go through to know. And then the blind tasting of it, which is a very attractive part of the, the study part of it, because you're drinking and like you're trying to, snuff out what this thing is. But they all have a purpose. So like the higher you go after that, like if you're running a wine list, it's more about like having governing a P&L kind of thing. Like the blind tasting of it is so you can sit in front of like a vendor and then, decide what you want on your list.
What level of certification are you at?
I'm a 2. I'm a 2. There's a few of us here. I think Matt Brown's an advanced. I think he has the highest level of education.
He's a VMertz, yeah.
He's a VMertz, yeah. He's a great guy. So like
unbelievable.
Yeah, super sweet guy. He's very lucky, but like also like because he has like 15 years at a restaurant, right? And he has like this really awesome library of things. But when I went to go meet him, I had a lot of questions about where stuff was. Because like when I moved to the Midwest, like there's things that I wanted to put on a list, but I didn't know where they were. So I asked him, and he was just like bam, 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 bam. He knew everything, which is like a really awesome, very humble guide. When you're moving to a new city, like he was very helpful, and that's what I found too. Like just moving to Omaha, like everyone was very, very helpful. Before I moved here, I reached out to Tim Nicholson over at the Boiler Room.
Yep.
And he got right back to me. He was like, yeah, like if you're looking for this, like this is where you want to go. If you want to work here, like this is where you want to go. And I was like, dude, thank you so much. This is so awesome. And then I met the other Tim Mates, and then over at Dolomiti, which is one of my absolute favorite restaurants.
Just ate there the other day.
Yeah. Wonderful pizza. Yeah. I mean, like really, really great stuff. And like all of those things, like, kind of there were parts of Omaha that really reminded me of San Francisco. And, when I started visiting here, because I moved out here because I have family here, I started just diving into the restaurant scene here. And I went to Boiler Room, and I went to Dolomiti, and I went to Yoshitomo, and I went to Koji. And I just
you hit the heavy hitters, man.
Yeah, I mean, like
not mess around.
Well, I mean, like you kind of you find your people really quick. So I just fell in love with Koji. I was like, everyone needs to go to this restaurant. It is small. It is, intimate and cool. And it's got it, it really has it. And so like, the opportunity that I had to work with David and Jay was just something that I just jumped at as soon as I could.
So you're recommending people to go to Koji. Were you actively applying to work there, or how did this opportunity arise?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to David a bunch. I talked to Jay a bunch too. And then when the timing was right, we just kind of jumped into it. Yeah.
Okay. I want to go back to the certification test.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool.
And you're talking about, you're sitting, or there's instructor or whatever it might be. The person who's conducting the test, they're sitting at a table like this, and they're asking you questions, and they're trying to, get wine pairings and stuff like that. This is something that you do every single day in your job. But in that setting, were you nervous, or was it just kind of like, okay, I can put the fact that this is a test, I can put that aside, and I'm just going to do my job just like I always do?
Well, I mean, kind of like the nervousness of it, like, kind of fades away once you get into it. Like, if someone's nervous to, let's say, go on a podcast, that nervousness can kind of alleviate really quickly once you start kind of doing the thing that you do every day, which is, talking to people.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, like, I was very much in a world that prepared me very well for that certification. Like, I I was lucky enough to work in places where I worked with a master somm, and I worked with very, very competitive, very educated people when it came to that world. So when I took my certified exam, I was working as the dining room manager of Michael Mina, which is 252 California, which is like his flagship. It closed, but while I was working there, Raj Par was like the main wine director for the Mina group. And because it was the flagship, like I had the ability to have some conversations with him, which was really cool. There was this other guy, Josiah Baldovino, that was there, and he was a very, very cool, very educated, very approachable wine person, which was really great. So I was able to put myself into a world where the difficult part was the norm. The difficult part was, being, if I'm waiting on a master somm, like I've waited on master somms before being in San Francisco, like I got to do all those things like firsthand. That was the stressful part. The stressful part was the day in and the day out of it. Just because like at that time and in that place, like we had a bunch of tech people coming in, a bunch of famous people coming in, a bunch of, all of these people. And I was this kid from this small town in Yolo County, and it was just, it was a little overwhelming, but at the same time, you got to go to work every day.
Okay, you mentioned Michael Mina there. I definitely want to talk more about that because he is a world-renowned Michelin chef. I want to get there, but I want to go back a little bit further in your career, and you talked about how you had to move to San Francisco in 2008. In 2009, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe in 2009 you started working at this restaurant called Town Hall.
Oh my gosh, Town Hall.
You worked there for 3 years. At that time, it was one of the hottest restaurants in San Francisco. What memories do you have of that experience?
Oh my God. So Town Hall was like, I think I was there for a year and 36 days.
Okay, so not 3 years. Bad research.
Yeah, no, it's okay. But it was like, so Town Hall were the Rosenthal brothers. They had Salt House and some other restaurant that I remember too. But they survived the .com boom. So they had this 3-story brick building that they had like a Southern fried chicken restaurant in the middle of the finance district in San Francisco. Like it shares a block with the Salesforce Tower, which is the largest tower on the West Coast. And it was this little 3-story brick building was like, in the shadow of the Salesforce Tower while it was being built. And it was, people had been there for 10 years. People were making gobs of cash. It was what I call a settled house. It was just like, it was very rambunctious is what I would call it. But it was a ton of fun. And it was my first managerial position that I had worked. I worked at Town Hall, and then I segued to Michael Mina. It was super just crazy. How do you know about Town Hall?
I have my ways of finding things.
Yeah.
Well, okay, you say it was super crazy. What made it crazy?
It was crazy because of the time and the place that it was. I mean, like, this was, in 2009? Mm-hmm. And so, like, if it was right at the cusp of San Francisco turning into something else. Before that, the .com boom had went through and kind of made its mark on San Francisco. But after that, like Twitter and Facebook and all those places didn't really move into San Francisco until like 2010, 2011, around that area. So it was the last like whisper of this old San Francisco. Like if you go there now and you go to like Dolores Park, it's like this beautiful picturesque thing. It wasn't back then. Like it was on the verge of becoming that, but it was still like this kind of gritty place. And like Town Hall, the building that it was in was old, surrounded by all of this new stuff. And the Rosenthal brothers were very much older chefs that were like of an older time, not to say that like people would like yell at people or anything like that. But like it was, just a very older like chef experience.
And this is your first managerial role, you said.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Not just being, a a sommelier or anything, but now you're stepping into a leadership position and you've got people under you. You're a boss.
Well, yeah. I mean, like doing that was always kind of something that I was drawn to, like those are kind of the managers you want. Like they can do these jobs that, service jobs pay very, very well, especially in San Francisco and especially at that time. But I was always kind of drawn to more of a leadership role, just something that I wanted to do and I still like doing and I love doing it. But like, it's just something that I'm kind of just naturally gravitate towards just because like I can do this job, but like I really enjoy, having an impact on a large group of people. Yeah.
I'm always curious with this, and I'm sure it varies spot by spot depending on just the way your time went there. But town hall's closed now.
Yeah.
And I'm always curious, like how chefs or general managers, whatever position it might be, feel when a place they used to work at closes. When you think of town hall and the fact that it's not around anymore, like what emotions does that arise in you?
It was kind of expected. It was one of those things that, and this is more of just like general markets. I mean, like if you expand and you expanded the wrong place or at the wrong time, like eventually you might thin out and then you can't manage a place that you're running properly. Or, I left before they closed. I wasn't, I didn't leave before. I got offered a job at Michael Mina, and I took that, and it was very, very lovely. But yeah, I mean, like, also you have to understand that there was like there was a turning point in what fine dining meant in San Francisco around the time that techs really started to move into San Francisco. So going from a restaurant like Town Hall into a restaurant like Michael Mina was very, caviar tasting menus, very like white tablecloths and very, everyone was in a suit. Like I was in a suit, like everyone was in suits. Like the servers were in black and aprons. And then we had captains there, and then we had managers. And then like, it was incredibly formal because it was incredibly expensive. And the clientele that you were waiting on were like, the Johnny Ive and the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world. Like it was, bonkers. But also what was happening at that time was the influence of Alice Waters in Berkeley was really starting to impact what fine dining meant in San Francisco. So after Michael Mina had an opportunity to work at State Bird Provisions, which was very much of the Alice Waters kind of theory when it comes to food. And for those of you who don't know, it's very much like Alice Waters had a farm. She was very much like a hippie in the 1970s.
She pretty much started the whole farm to table movement.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
As far as the rest of America becoming aware of it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So like, in the 70s, they were starting to use pesticides on food, and they were starting to use just different things to kill bugs in order to cultivate massive crops, which I'm sure growing up, in Nebraska, you have firsthand knowledge of. But in California, what that meant was the preservation of these little farms that would produce, these gems, like. Something that I somewhat miss about California is the, readily available produce that we have. I mean, like California is a true like breadbasket. If you look at the geography and the geology of California, you'll start to see it's just crazy ability to produce all of this really, really good produce. And that's something that, Alice Waters had a farm on her property. It was like a house, Chez Panisse was like a house that you'd go into, and there was all these like, things that they would pick and then bring them in and then serve. So there was a whole school of people that kind of came from that, and Stuart Brioza and Nicole Krasinski were very much of that philosophy. So like when you went into State Bird, in contrast to Michael Mina with the tablecloths and everything perfect and people in suits, you had, the silverware didn't match and the glasses were whatever. And it was really just about the food and the hospitality. And it was super interesting to see that. I mean, when I went and staged at State Bird, like, again, I was in a suit and I was in a tie, and like they were like, okay, keep the suit on, but put this apron on over it. And it was so funny. And, you know, I had a bunch of friends there because working in that industry in San Francisco, everyone really knows each other, and the community there is very, very strong. And like they hired me, but like I had to break a lot of just like really like rote habit that I had coming from these fine dining backgrounds. And it really changed for me, like what hospitality, service, and ultimately wine, like all of those things I got to see through an entirely different lens while doing the same thing. Michael Mina had a Michelin star, State Bird had a Michelin star, and they couldn't be two completely different restaurants. Like it was really eye-opening at a young age to kind of see like what those two things meant and how they were projected by two different artists, essentially.
What was that adjustment period like for you? What were some of the habits that you had to break?
Well, I was surrounded by friends, and like, you know, in breaking habits, it's always good to have people around you that you trust, and that'll be like, you know, you should do this way. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I like, you know, adapting to a new environment is always tricky. And I think being new in any job is always going to have its area of adjustment. And I think that for me at that time, you know, I was just young and hungry, and I wanted to work in like the best spots. And so, you know, at that point in my life, I was like, I'll change whatever, just suit, burn it. Like it's totally fine. But like, good wine and food and hospitality technique is transferable. That's why you can have restaurants, like I said before, like in Sacramento, in San Francisco, and in Omaha, Nebraska, that have the same goal, just different ways of getting there. And in truly magical spots, you can kind of see where that path or how that pathway leads to the same spot.
You mentioned that you had friends at State Bird Provisions, excuse me. But other than that, what led you to that restaurant? Because you talked about how you were pretty used to coming up in fine dining spots, and then especially like Michael Mina was like the epitome of that, where it was the finest of fine dining, and then you're going to this farm-to-table place where the fork on one table might be completely different than the one on the other. Like, what drew you to State Bird Provisions?
I mean, like it was the restaurant that everyone was talking about. Like it was, before I got there, it was, you know, Bon Appetit's best restaurant in 2012, and it was Esquire Magazine's best restaurant in 2012. And then I got there, and it was just like kind of more my speed. Like I never really, I don't want to say I ever, like I didn't get completely comfortable surrounded by like the pomp and circumstance of Michael Mina. Like I think it's great, and I think that those restaurants are still very much have a purpose. If you look at like really amazing restaurants in New York, 11 Madison Park, if you look like really like crazy restaurants like in LA, like Providence, they just won a James Beard for hospitality. You know, all like Michael Tusk and, you know, Cotonia and Quince, like all of those restaurants, they serve a very specific clientele. That's either people that are, you know, going for a destination for like French Laundry or something like that, 3 Michelin stars, you know, deserves a special trip. Or people that live in that area that can't afford to just eat like that. They do have, you know, weekly and, you know, almost daily regulars at those places, and they survive off of
to be
that.
Those people.
I know, right? Well, I mean, it all comes with everything, you know, I mean, we have at Koji our weekly regulars, and we survive off of those, you know, the habits of people are kind of the same, you know, throughout, you know, whatever class you're in or whatever, but like it kind of, you know, recognizing who you're catering to and the clientele that you have and staying true to them and staying hospitable to them is the core of any successful restaurant.
Mm-hmm. So you start working at State Provisions in 2013. You mentioned they got on the map with Esquire. oh my gosh, I'm just blanking on what. Bon Appetit.
Bon Appetit.
Bon Appetit was the other one that recognized them. In 2013, they won a James Beard Award for Best New Restaurant. In 2014, received a Michelin-star for the first time. What was it like to be a part of a group at a restaurant that is just like on a meteoric rise?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, this is a great restaurant, but all of a sudden, the rest of the country is like, oh, look at this place, and the spotlight is on it.
Yeah, I mean, it was thoroughly educational. Like, it was thoroughly educational. And like Stuart Brioza, Nicole Krasinski, they had a bunch of people that were just. I mean, it's kind of like anything, you know. Like when the timing's right, if it hits and you can ride the wave, like as long as you can ride it, like that's outstanding. But like being prepared for that wave to hit is how it can sustain. And Stuart and Nicole were very prepared. So when all of those things hit, like their artistry came out, and like the nature of State Bird, if you don't know, it's like a dim sum restaurant. So, you know, they have these larger plates called commandables, and they have pancakes you can order too. And then they have these passed items. It's like 7 to 14 different items that go around on carts and trays. So at its core, it's a dim sum restaurant, but like very sneakily, it is, you know, potentially a 14-course tasting menu that's done in a way that is quick, efficient, and without pomp and circumstance. So you have, you know, the ability to do the 14-course tasting menu that Michael Mina can do, but then you also are doing it in a way that's incredibly approachable. It's incredibly visual. It's interactive, and it covers so many bases that you really can't make a mistake. I think Matt Brown was talking about this on your podcast, and he was
listened.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. But like, I think that what he said was like, yeah, if you do, you know, 7 courses or 14 courses and you miss something, you still have all of this room to kind of, you know, make up for that, you know, B- that you did. State Bird does that wildly efficiently. And it does it in the past items that are small. And so, like, even if you're a vegetarian, like, or a vegan, or if you have some dietary restriction, like, you'll naturally pass on stuff. But the things that happen around in that orbit will cover your base. You'll still get to do your vegetarian tasting menu. You'll still get to do your vegan tasting menu or your gluten-free menu or whatever. And that was something that I recognized in Koji very quickly, is that it's small plates. It's incredibly approachable. It is, you know, people come in and they're having sushi. What they don't know is that they're also doing like potentially an 12 to 8 course tasting menu. And it's done in a way that is, you know, incredibly approachable. It's very unpretentious. It is, you know, a tiny little spot in, you know, countryside village. It's a sushi spot in a very old mall. And that's kind of the beauty of it, is you can do these things that are really cool, and you can do them sometimes without even knowing. Like, I mean, someone comes in, gets their little sushi roll at lunch, that's fine, but everything else is really a shared concept. And so, like, you have order them, you know, you have them order a couple of plates, and then nigiri, and then some maki rolls, and then you're just kind of going, there you are, tasting menu.
That is fascinating.
Wow.
I cannot believe this. I've been going to Yoshitomo and Koji for probably 7 or 8 years now, and I've never thought of it as a tasting menu.
Yeah.
But what you're describing is exactly
It's
it.
exactly a tasting
because
menu. Yeah.
the most fun thing about going to those restaurants is like ordering something, sharing it with someone, and then being like, okay, that was tasty. What's next? And you just keep ordering until you're full. But even if you go to Koji and say, okay, we want these 3 rolls, and we want the edamame, we want, this crudo, you can order 5 or 6 things, and it's not all going to come out at once and hit the table at one time, but it's going to come out periodically.
Yeah.
You're essentially just allowing guests to create their own tasting menu.
Yeah, it's there. Like, David did it. And that's kind of one of the things that, like, sushi and Japanese food does really just kind of well. It's like, everyone wants to kind of, hit small plates. Everyone wants to do small plates because you just have a lot of opportunity to, provide something that someone it'll just blow their mind. I liked Clio a lot when I came here. They do small plates, which they do very well. I like Clio a lot. But something that David found out pretty early, I mean, like, you can just do what you do naturally, and then it can, offer that opportunity to, hit that mark every time.
Okay, so getting a I'm going back to State Bird Provisions.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Getting a Michelin star is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your life was like in the months following that? Because it's one thing to, get recognized by Bon Appetit and stuff. It's another to get a James Beard Award. It's another to get a Michelin star. Suddenly, people are having a raised level of expectation when they are coming into this restaurant. They are not expecting any misses. It's going to be a great meal. Does that put pressure on you or the staff, or is it just so exciting that you're getting this recognition that you're not thinking about, oh, we can't miss, or people are really going to start to notice it?
Well, I came from a very high-pressured environment, so the pressure of it was kind of also, like, if you're doing what you do, people are there to see the show.
Sure.
I'm not, going to lie. It was very cool working at the cool spot, like it was very, very, very cool. And we got to meet a lot of people that came into that restaurant. I got to just like in the community, like I got to meet guests that were like, I got to meet, Masha Kuchkova, which is the principal dancer in the San Francisco Ballet. I got to meet Michael Tilson Thomas, who was the conductor for the San Francisco Symphony. And like, I got to, meet them like outside of that job. They were like, you're cool. Let's go do this thing. I'm like, sick. And there was that. There always is that. Like, even at Koji, like, I get to meet incredible people that are just like Josh. I mean, like, there's incredible people that you just meet by just doing your thing. It's one thing to just be naturally hospitable and be yourself and meet people. That's just a community. It's another thing to like, what am I trying to say? Like, it's you can be pretentious with it, and you can be like, we're the top dogs on the corner. Or you can just go like, yeah, this is our thing, and we're going to do it as long as anyone will let us. And if you, try to do the latter, you're more likely to sustain, because what you're doing is just what you've done every day. Long story short, yeah, you win a Michelin star, get back to work. Like, you win, you get nominated for a James Beard Award, get back to work. You just got to remember what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it.
You were at State Bird Provisions for 6 years, left in 2019. I want to fast forward a little bit and move this story into Omaha time. You said you moved back, or not back, you moved here because of family?
Well, I moved here because, like, I was kind of, I was in San Francisco and I'd been there for a long time. And, like, a lot of my friends had left. I worked at, State Bird for 6 years. I worked at Macalmina for a while. And I had kind of gotten tired of the city. And it was in a very strange spot. I mean, like, I'd say that 85% of San Francisco is absolutely beautiful and one of the most, picturesque cities on the planet. And then, the other part of it is, not that great. When I moved there, I was in Noe Valley. I was, up on top of the hill, beautiful, picturesque wall of land with Carl the Fog coming over. And then as, tech comes in and you get priced down, I was on Hyde and O'Farrell, which the New York Times called the dirtiest corner in the United States. It was, kind of like I felt very alone. And so I needed to kind of find a change. And through that, with my friends, I was talking to my friends and my family, and I was like, I was thinking about going to New York, but it was a little bit more of a grind that I was, used to. So that's kind of a little bit more of the same. I can see myself getting tired there too. And then I thought about LA, but LA restaurant scene is kind of a bloodbath right now. It's kind of, hundreds of restaurants are closing in Los Angeles because of, just competition, but there's also just food trends that are changing too. I mean, like, this is strange, but with GLP-1s, like, people aren't eating as much as they used to. Like, if you're taking Ozempic, like, which is a lot of people in Los Angeles, like, you're not, you're eating a crudité for dinner. You're not going to.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never thought about that.
Yeah. It's like, Omaha is the city where people still eat. Like,
that we do.
Like, it's crazy what we're competing with. I mean, it's crazy to think like people are drinking less, which is kind of, you can kind of see that ebb and that flow naturally from Gen Z, doing other things or, whatever. But like if it's a constant problem, or not a problem, but it's a constant puzzle to kind of figure out how to reach your customer base and then kind of change their perspective on it. And there's a lot of different strategies that you can kind of use to get to that, like from a wine perspective. But like if you like literally hundreds of restaurants are closing in LA because people are, having a coffee for breakfast and then having, they're going to Erewhon and picking up a quinoa bowl for lunch
for $39 or whatever.
$39 at Erewhon, yeah. And then that's it. That's the ball game. So like if you like my industry that I've worked in for so long, is 22 years I've been in this industry, has gone through so many changes and has gone through just trying to capture a clientele that is super tricky. And what I saw when I came to Omaha, my brothers lived here for a very long time. And he was in the Air Force. He works private contracting now, Brian. And he built an incredible life with his wife out here, Kelly. I mean, Kelly works at the Joslin Castle. She's on the board of directors there. She does, I think, all their philanthropy and like runs the FET and like has goth nights at the Joslin Castle. And like his life is sick. So I'm like, okay. I started coming here for just the 4th of July because like a kid, I like lighting off fireworks, and you can't do that in California. But yeah, I mean, like I came out here and Brian's like, try these restaurants, man. And we went to Boiler Room, we went to Dolomiti, we went to Yoshitomo, we went to Koji. And I was like, I can work here. Like, I can really work here. Like, I can work here and be like, I can, meet really cool people and, do what I do in order to impact positively, the culture and the community here. At least be a part of it. That's why I came here.
It sounds like you've gained a pretty strong appreciation for Omaha's restaurant scene since you've been here. What was your, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess, what was your, this isn't the word that I want, but I'm going to use it. What was your view of Omaha and the restaurants here before you moved here? Like, did you think much of it at all?
Well, I think that like it's interesting that you say that, because like where I come from in Sacramento, and my cousin, he lives in Tennessee, he lives in Nashville. And there are these things that like fast food restaurants do, which is create testing markets for their concepts or their new concepts or their new dishes. And like, that's kind of what Omaha is sometimes. So like in Sacramento, they'll pop up a new place and they'll try it. In Tennessee, they'll do the same. And in Omaha, they'll do the same. Omaha is a really great mixture of the Midwest. So for a testing market, that's kind of what I assumed would be happening. Is this like, it'd look like Tennessee or, Sacramento. And in a lot of ways it does. But there are these wonderful gems that exist in this city, in the Dolomites and the Dantes and the Boiler Rooms and all of those Yoshitomos and the Kojis, and like, there's not a few of them. There's a lot of them, and it is incredible to from my background be able to see that and go like, oh, okay, cool. These guys came to play, and like know that it will grow and expand. I know that, we just opened Shredders, everyone's kind of talking about what they're doing next. And that's kind of where I saw a similarity in that, who you're competing with, as a restaurant. Like, who are you competing with? Like, who are we competing with as Yoshitomo? Like, are we competing with Dolomiti or Boiler Room? No, I mean, we're competing with McDonald's. We're competing with Domino's Pizza. I mean, that's the enemy. I mean, if you look at like how just the world is changing. Like if you look at like how, I mean, McDonald's is very much like a real estate company, right? I mean, they buy property and they establish franchises on it. In 2023, they very quietly became a tech company too. I mean, like those screens, they're trying to, track your data to dynamically price you when you come in. Like a burger in, Austin, Texas costs less than a burger in, Brentwood, California. It does. And Domino's Pizza is essentially doing the same thing. Go eat at Dante, go eat at Dolomiti. Like we love, like Shredders is our restaurant. Go eat at those places, have a conversation, build the community there. and then just don't order from Domino's. Like, that's what we're asking. Like, yeah.
So take me into that a little bit deeper, because I know where you're coming from to some extent, but I think intuitively to say that Yoshitomo, which is a James Beard nominated restaurant, it's absolutely wonderful. It's not super upscale, but you know that going there, it's not fast food, obviously.
Right.
To say that our direct competition is McDonald's and Domino's, those seem like two very different things. In what way are those fast food places your direct competition?
I think in regards to, this is mostly for shredders, but like in regards to people's attention and their just eating, like you have a lot of options. You have a lot of options to eat, and everyone is gunning for your attention, and they're all doing it different ways. Like, we don't use a lot of social media in order to advocate for, Yoshitomo or Koji. We don't.
No, you don't.
We don't. Because we think that, and this is really just coming from David, is that we can really curate and create an experience within our, restaurants in order to get people to come back. It is truly just about the food and the service. And like, this was, like, coming from me as a wine background, like coming into a restaurant like Koji, like there are some things that I changed for our wine list, but it's not much. Like, we have a reserve wine list now that I think caters to our community really well, and can offer some really interesting options when it comes to wine. But like, when people talk about restaurant community and culture, like, other restaurants exist in that community and that culture. And if we're all gunning for the same thing, which is this level of authenticity through the voice that we have, then of course the competition is Domino's Pizza. Of course the competition is Chipotle. Of course the competition is all of these like corporate restaurants that, don't, I think, and it's tricky too because they're very good at it. Like in California, there's a restaurant called In-N-Out Burger, right? In-N-Out Burger, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, cool. Like, In-N-Out Burger, like if you talk about like the difference between service and hospitality, like In-N-Out Burger has one of the most efficient services you'll ever see in your entire life. Like, it is amazing how well that their service works. Like, if you like have been to an In-N-Out Burger, like you have an individual order for an In-N-Out Burger. Like, mine's a double with mustard pickles. What's yours?
I haven't been in forever, but yeah, it would probably be a double.
Yeah,
maybe get the animal style fries just because that's what everybody wants you to do.
Right, animal style fries. In-N-Out Burger is like incredibly good at this. Like, not only their order is like a fingerprint, and if you like, not only have they never messed up my fingerprint, I've never heard of anyone getting their fingerprint messed up. Like, I've never heard of anyone like not getting their In-N-Out Burger order right. But there's nothing about that experience. Like, the service is impeccable, but there's nothing about that experience that makes me think that it's hospitable in any way. Like, if you go into it, it's pretty cold. Like, it's plastic, it's white. Like, it's just not. It's clinical almost. So, although their service is incredibly good, their hospitality is none of that. So, in a restaurant like Koji, we survive on our hospitality. We survive on the food, and, the service exists and it has to be good, getting something from point A to point B. But our ability to recognize guests, our ability to serve the 5-block radius that we live within is how we survive. And the hard part is the day in and the day out of it. It is every single day. It is, except for Mondays. But like, it is, it's always being like, I'm always there. Like, I'm supposed to be there now. Like, my hours are long, any, restaurant worker probably has pretty long hours. But I think that for me, like, I love being on the floor. I've always loved being on the floor. That's kind of why I gravitated towards a managerial role, is that I always like meeting people. Like, I grew up in a very large family. I grew up surrounded by a ton of people. Like, all of my youth activities were very, full of people, whether that was sports or theater or whatever. And I get to essentially bounce around and talk to a bunch of people that are super interesting in Omaha, Nebraska. Like and they are a lot of people that, I mean, like,
a lot of people are very interesting in Omaha, Nebraska.
yeah, I mean, like they really are. I mean, like people like get out and they travel. I mean, Omaha has a symphony, Omaha has an opera, Omaha has a killer library. I mean, Omaha has all of these things. And like kind of what my sister-in-law and my brother did really well is that they, built a life. Like in San Francisco, it's all there for you. Like in New York, it's all there for you. Like in Omaha, you kind of have to do the hard work and build it.
So you step into Koji. Koji is already a great restaurant. Like you mentioned, that's why you wanted to work there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you come in with different experiences, with ways that you've seen things done in the past. How, as a new person in leadership, do you walk that line between saying Koji is great as it is, I don't want to rock the boat and change a bunch of things, versus I have seen some things that I think we could implement here that would improve the restaurant even more? How do you balance that between making some changes but not doing so much that you rock the boat and change the core of what Koji is?
Well, I mean, like that's kind of where, I mean, David really comes into it. Is this like David has a vision of his place, and there's like, Jay has a vision of that place, and like sometimes, the general manager there before, his name was Sage, and he bounced out to Chicago. Like he got a job at running a bar in a sick restaurant group there, and so like when I had the ability to come in and take his spot, I was thrilled. A lot of those things, like you kind of want to keep the voice of David and Jay, and like the food is really what leads that. So like in a service aspect of it, like there were some things that needed to be changed, but at the end of the day, I mean, like the wine list, for instance, like there was a missed opportunity in having like a more reserved wine list, because like what I found is that, I mean, like we said, people in Omaha really know what they're doing. They really, like diners in Omaha really know what they're doing. And so like I put like a couple of flags on the wine list, like some weird Morgon and some like, some weird Cru Beaujolais, and then like some cool Chenin Blanc, and just kind of see what would happen. Like, and sure enough, they're like, who did this? Who put this Morgon on here? Who are you? And I'm like, who are you? Like, it kind of just, you kind of learn the tastes of the community a little bit better. And then through, taking on anything like this isn't done in a week or a month or 6 months. I mean, any business, I mean, whether it's a podcast, there's issues and problems that you run into. And that's where the professionalism comes out of it. It's just like, what are we dealing with? What's the problem? What's the solution? And what's the goal? And if you look at problems like that, you can work as a team and then kind of, get through that. My team's incredible too. Like, I think that the front of the house team is in a spot that we are super proud of. Like, it's a bunch of young and hungry people that are like really wanting to gun for it. And then our back of the house team too is just like, a lot of those people have been there a really long time, and they know every part about it, and they're very reliable, and they're very just awesome, Yeah.
All right, Daniel, this has been just such a wonderful conversation. Before we wrap up here, I got 2 more questions for you that I like to ask just about everybody that I have on the show. First one's this: what is one thing about hospitality, the restaurant industry, whatever direction you want to take that you feel the typical diner doesn't understand, but you wish they understood?
I'm sorry. Could you say that again one more time? I'm sorry.
So take someone like, well, maybe I'm not a good example, but take like someone who has not worked in the restaurant industry, somebody who just comes into restaurants. They're a guest. What's something that you wish they understood about the restaurant industry that they don't right now?
Oh, man. What is something that I wish a guest understood about the restaurant industry? That's a phenomenal question.
I get a wide array of responses to this.
It's kind of
always
strange because, like, I think that for us, like, we're there for our guests, and we're there for, their experience and to entertain them, which, kind of having them want to understand anything about it can be a little paradoxical, I guess. I wish that people that came into our restaurant like fully understood how unbelievably stoked that we are to have them there. Like, I think that, we live and die by our guests' experiences and our ability to get them to come back. And when they're trying to make that decision of where to go, they choose us. And like, I think that of all of the options, which are myriad, like there's a lot of things out there that you can choose from, whether it's, Dolomiti or Chipotle or Koji or Yoshitomo or Long John Silver's. Like, I mean, there's so many things out there. Like, I wish that, they understood how much we want them to come back. Like, yeah, I guess that's it.
I think that is fascinating, though, because I think sometimes it can kind of, and you don't normally feel this at great restaurants, but there are times where you can feel like you're a table that is just waiting to be turned at a restaurant. And to hear that perspective where it's like, no, we're excited to see you.
Yeah.
And not just see you, but like curate an individual experience for you tonight. And this is not in and out where, it's just service, but this is hospitality. And we are excited to get to know you, understand exactly what you want out of this next hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, and then personalize that to you and the people that you're with. I love that. Thank you for shining light on that. I think I know from our conversation, I think I know the answer to my last question, but I like to wrap it up on a positive note anyway. What is your favorite thing about being a part of the restaurant industry?
I really enjoy going to work. Like, I really like my job. The hours do not bother me. I think when you have a group of people, my team's amazing. Like, when you have a group of people that just make every day fun and playful and still very professional. Like, I have some very hard lines with my team, but once that's there, you're just at work and it's fun and you get to talk to people and meet people and mistakes can happen, but there's not really anything that can't be fixed. And we are given so many tools. Like, Jay and David have given me, a lot of tools in order to, put that restaurant in a place that's very, very, professional and hospitable and kind to, again, that 5-block radius that we wait on. I dig what I do. I always have. It's hard, because you try other things, but you're at the end of the day, I'm a floor manager at a restaurant. More so than that, I think I'm a busboy at a restaurant, but that's okay too.
Well, you are very, very good at what you do. You're doing great work at Koji.
Cool.
And I have just enjoyed this conversation so much. You're just a very thoughtful person.
So are you.
Who brings up things and explains things in a way that I hadn't previously thought of them before. So
okay.
Thank you so much for
thanks for doing what you
coming on and opening our minds a little bit here. This is fantastic, Daniel.
Like I said, when I came here, your podcast popped up. I really appreciate what you're doing for local businesses and, fighting the good fight for, the small independent restaurants. I really appreciate it, man.
You guys deserve it.
Boom.
Omaha, as always, thanks for eating with us.